Give me my notebook.
You're so smart. Why don't we read this and see what it says?
Give me my notebook.
My name's Eddie, and I like to kiss my teacher's ass.
Hey! I said stop it, both of you! Hey, why don't you sit down? Did he hit you? Did you hit him?
No, I didn't do anything. Tell him you took my notebook.
I ain't no snitch.
Sit down.
I didn't do anything.
Officer just been assaulted. So you think you're a big boy? Think you're tough? I said, take your hands out of your pocket and sit down.
I didn't do anything. It was self-defense.
Take your hands out of your pocket.
I didn't even do anything, man. Come on.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
Hey,
That's the sound
back
of
up,
the police.
back up.
Right, that ain't right.
Back up.
That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
Natalie, did you make sure to grab your homework off the table?
Yeah. Mom, our roof is falling.
I know, baby. I'm gonna grab some tape later on and we're gonna fix it up.
It's gonna need a lot more than tape, Mom.
Well, at least we have a card.
Yeah, true. Okay.
So how you doing on that math class?
I'm doing good. I just need to pass it.
You're almost there. You just need that one to graduate.
Oh, hey, Mom, do you know how many bones are in the human body?
No, baby, how many?
206.
Where'd you learn that?
In science class.
That's good, Eddie.
Oh, you know children have more bones in their body than adults?
Come on, Eddie, don't be making stuff up.
I'm not. They have more bones because they're still growing.
So I have more bones than you?
Yeah, but I'm still smarter.
Okay, we're here. All right, listen up. I'm gonna be working late, so do your homework and no TV or video games, okay?
What?
Okay, let's do our prayer.
Come on, Mom.
Eddie. Lord, to thee I pray, please guard us through this day. Amen. Eddie, please stay out of trouble.
Okay, Mom.
Lord, please watch out for my babies.
All right, class, we're gonna go over last night's assignment. I know. All right. X squared and 2. All right, that's enough. Okay, that's enough. Right. X squared and 2x are like terms. True or false? Eddie.
False. They have different powers.
Exactly. Good job, Eddie. All right, let's do another one.
What a nerd.
Is there a problem?
No.
Mario? What? Eddie's he messing with you?
No.
Mario, is there a problem?
No, not me.
I'm tired of this. You keep this up, I'm gonna send you to the principal's office.
Too late. Give me my notebook. You're so smart. Why don't we read this and see what it says?
Give me my notebook.
My name's Eddie, and I like to kiss my teacher's ass.
Did he hit you? Did he hit you?
I didn't do anything.
Hello? What do you mean Eddie's been tased? He did what? Where is he? I want to talk to him.
What's going on?
Tommy, I've got to go. That was my son's school.
Are you gonna come back?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. Where's Eddie?
Miss Roberts. He's being evaluated.
Is he hurt?
Eddie's okay. It's just part of the process after being tased.
My son was tased and no one's told me exactly what happened.
I don't know the details, but an officer's on his way.
Miss Reese,
Where's my son?
Eddie's being processed and detained right now.
For what? He's a child.
It's Roberts. He assaulted a police officer. He's going to be processed and go to juvie hall.
Assaulted? I want my son back.
Miss Roberts, let's not make this any more difficult than it needs to be, okay?
I'm not being difficult. I want my son back. Where is my son?
You're going to get your son back, but it's going to be a couple hours.
Where is he? I want my son back.
They'll bring him.
I want my son
Okay.
back. I can't lose him. Okay. What did you do?
Mom, I didn't do anything.
Then why were you fighting?
This kid Mario in class was throwing stuff at me, and then he took my notebook.
Why didn't you tell a teacher?
So, what did the counselor say?
We have a meeting with Miss Reese tomorrow morning. You might get suspended.
Suspended? Mom, I didn't do anything.
Eddie, they say you assaulted a police officer.
He slipped and fell on his own. I didn't even touch him. I didn't even do anything.
Let's just see what Miss Reese says tomorrow.
I can't miss math, Mom.
This is Eddie's third incident.
Miss Reese, they just barely did the evaluation this year.
You have a learning disability, Eddie?
Yes, ma'am. I still plan on graduating, though.
I can't make any guarantees. We have a zero tolerance policy for fighting. The police officer's not backing down, and the principal, he knows all eyes are watching.
Do you have any kids?
Yes, I have 2 boys. One just started college.
Do they have their father?
I'm sorry?
Is their father in their life?
I've had to raise my kids on my own. It wasn't easy.
Eddie's father, brother, and uncles are all locked up.
You just need a math credit.
Yes, ma'am. I just need to pass math, though.
If you do get suspended, you could always go to community high school.
No, I want to graduate from here.
His older brother went to community high school and dropped out.
I'll see what I can do.
They tased my child. He's not perfect, but he's a child who wants to learn, that wants to be somebody.
I'll do my best.
Ask them if they love their children too.
No, I didn't do anything.
I said, sit down.
No!
Get your hands out of your pocket.
Chase!
Can we take this down?
No, actually. Some random person put it up there.
435 views?
Yeah, 435 in like the first 15, 20 minutes.
With this video, we can't press charges on Eddie Roberts.
You know, he was fighting and non-compliant.
It looks like self-defense to me. And it looks like Officer Smith slipped.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, let's talk about this later.
Okay.
Can you send Ms. Ruiz in, please? I gotta talk to her now.
All right. Thank you.
Ruiz, how are you?
I'm well.
Good seeing you. Have a seat.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Eddie was in a fight?
Mario was messing with him. He was defending himself.
Eddie wasn't being compliant. He wasn't following Officer Smith's instructions.
Eddie didn't deserve to be tased.
What are we supposed to do? Kids don't trust the cops. They don't trust us. I've got a new protocol on lockdown I've got to implement in a week. Let me see that. Eddie Roberts.
Yes.
brother was a troublemaker too, wasn't he?
Well, Eddie's brother was expelled and went to juvie. He's currently locked up.
You know what's going to happen to that kid?
Who, Mario?
There's probably a cell in Vacaville waiting for him.
Mr. Jones, how are you so sure about Mario's future?
The whole family's trouble. His brother went to this school. His uncle went to this school. I taught his uncle. It's only a matter of time before he ends up there too.
Mr. Jones, with all due respect, what is our school doing to prevent Mario or Eddie from going to prison?
Ms. Ruiz, kids like that we just can't help. We need to try and help the students who are here to learn.
Eddie wants to learn. He needs one class to graduate.
We have a zero-tolerance policy on fighting. You know this. Suspension may not be the right thing for Eddie right now, but it is the right thing for the school.
Mr. Jones, it's hard for me to understand your decision. My son was once just like Eddie, but someone took the time to believe in him, to help him. Now he's in college. Our school is filled with Marios and Eddies and Sandras and Teresas, and they're all being suspended. They just need someone to believe in them. Don't you think all students are worthy?
Eddie and Mario are going to be suspended. It's district policy. My hands are tied. There's nothing I can do, even though I might like to. Can you ask Mario to come in, please?
The Kern High School District tonight is questioning a new discipline report presented to board members last night. It states more African American students are being disciplined and suspended compared to any other race.
The Kern High School District now faces a legal challenge filed this morning. It complains more Latino and African American students end up expelled or in alternative schools.
A lot of it we have to trace back to when zero-tolerance policies were adopted in schools, which really followed the Columbine shootings and a number of other school shootings, which incidentally occurred in white suburban communities. But several states, to protect schools, adopted and to ensure safety, adopted zero tolerance. So any kind of infraction then could result in expulsion or even arrest. And with that went a growing police presence in schools. And one of the things that's occurred as a result of that is that infractions that may have in the past been treated as simply a minor discipline matter are now seen as police matters. So kids get into a fight, now someone's going to get arrested. A child refuses to give up a cell phone. A child could be arrested. These are not criminal cases. Out on the street, someone can't just take your cell phone from you, right? But in school, where children have fewer rights, what we're seeing is now police brought in on matters that they're not criminal, they're not threatening, but children are being arrested and becoming involved. Kids cutting class could be arrested for loitering and then end up missing school to go pay fines. So this is happening throughout the country right now. Well, we shouldn't be surprised that racial bias would impact discipline because it impacts everything in our society, particularly in terms of our interactions with authority figures. And in schools, what we're seeing is that the most disadvantaged kids are the ones who tend to be targeted for punishment. And this is because kids who are disadvantaged, kids who don't have supportive parents, who don't have stable housing, Kids who are not doing well academically often have very little incentive to behave because their needs aren't being met, and we're not addressing those needs. And so instead of addressing the need, we respond to the behavior infraction. So we're punishing kids for not reading and acting out during reading time, instead of addressing the fact this child can't read and they're in the 4th grade. We're punishing kids because they're neglected at home, so they're acting out in school. We don't respond to the neglect, we respond to the infraction. So some of this is caused by the fact that schools don't have the resources, they don't have social workers, they don't have psychologists to address the student needs, but it also comes from a mindset that we see in many schools, which is fixated on control, controlling kids, and a very punitive approach to discipline. And I would say that punitive approach to discipline works against adopting a more enlightened preventative approach where we address relatively minor issues early and keep kids connected to learning. The hardest kids to discipline are the kids who give up on school because they no longer want to be there. And right now we discipline them by sending them home to watch television. This is totally ineffective if the goal is to change behavior. Well, I think it's because there's a tradition in school. We've gotten used to handling discipline in certain ways. We've normalized this tendency to punish disproportionately African American, Latino students, especially males. So when we see those kids getting suspended and expelled, no one is outraged or upset about it because that's the way we've done things. Those are the same kids who are most likely to drop out. Those are the same kids who are doing least well academically. So the idea that we would also discipline those kids doesn't ring alarms, when in fact it should. The behavior problems usually start very early. We'll see kids as young as 7 and 8 starting to act out in school, and that's the reason why we're seeing such high suspension rates, even in preschool, because instead of addressing the causes of the behavior, we're focused on the behavior, and it doesn't work. We are using police inappropriately in many schools. We're policing behaviors that are not criminal. We need to make sure that the role of the police is really limited to securing the campus so that it's safe if it's necessary. Ultimately, we need to recognize that safety is a byproduct of relationships. It comes from when children are well known, when they feel respected, when they feel they can trust the educators they work with. That's what leads to safety, not metal detectors and guards, although sometimes those are necessary too. There's got to be a more enlightened way to deal with our children, and this is a child, we have to remember, than to use physical force. Otherwise, the message we send to our kids is that physical force is the way you get what you want. And that's a dangerous message to send to our children. So my message to the students is twofold. On the one hand, they have to be aware of the fact they live in a society where racism is pervasive, where they are often targeted, whether they're in school or in the community, which means they have to be very aware of what's going on around them. They have to be aware, because we don't want to be victimized by school officials or by the police. And so we have to be aware of our conduct, we have to be aware of how we're seen, how we're perceived, so that we are not victimized. At the same time, sometimes, even when you do everything right, you still get victimized. And you have to be also then ready to defend your rights. And by that I mean, and you can't necessarily do it by yourself. So you have to be smart about how you assert your rights, because when it's you and a police officer, that's probably not the time. I would wait till you get an attorney, wait until your parents are there, wait until you can do some community organizing to support you so that you're not alone. Because what we have to do is elevate these issues beyond a single individual infraction to look at them as a case of infractions, a case of violations. My message to parents is they should organize. That is, if we approach this as individuals, because it happened to my child, then we're going to feel overwhelmed, we're going to feel outnumbered, we're going to feel intimidated. If we approach it as a community, says we will not allow our children to be treated this way, right? And utilize our churches, utilize our organizations to assert our rights, we will be stronger in numbers. So we should not do this by ourselves. We have to do this collectively. I think the main thing parents should be doing is helping their children to understand what their rights are, At the same time, how to be careful when they deal with the police. We don't want kids to be beaten up and thrown on the ground and handcuffed. So the children need to be aware of how they speak and interact with the police. At the moment of being stopped is not the time to assert your rights, even when you're right, because you're usually going to lose. And we don't want to just lose and get beaten up. What we want to do is come back to fight effectively in the courts, use our lawyers, use our institutions. And so parents need to organize and make sure we do have good legal representation when we engage with the police officers and assert the rights of our children. I think the administrators have to play a role in humanizing the schools, humanizing the way the children are treated, the relationships between the teachers and the students. There are too many schools we go where there are strained relations, where the teachers, there's not enough trust between teachers and kids. Kids learn from adults they trust. They learn from adults they know care about them. So they work on the culture of the school to make sure the culture is conducive to good teaching and learning. And many of our schools aren't, and it shows in the learning outcomes because basic values are not there. Trust, respect. You have to have those things in order for good teaching and learning to occur. But we have to remember these are children, right? And no child is expendable. No child is disposable. And so if we approach it that way, we can be much more creative in how we address the challenges that our children sometimes present themselves with. I think it's very important to realize that many kids don't have supportive families, don't have a father present at home, and therefore an adult male role model in their lives. We should know who those children are. We should know which child has a father that's incarcerated and therefore needs a mentor at school, needs a coach, needs someone to take interest. Every child needs to have some adult who takes a direct interest in the child, who has that child's back, who is that child's advocate. Every child needs an advocate. And if they don't have them, then a child is being raised on their own. Children can't raise themselves. So again, schools sometimes feel overwhelmed because they say, well, how can we do this? We're also got to deal with so many other things, particularly educating them. So that's when we turn on the community. And we turn to the community and say, look, we have children that need more support. And we have to turn to our churches, to our nonprofits, to our colleges and universities, say we need more support for the children because the schools can't do it alone. We really need to organize broadly. We need to get the community to realize it is not in our interest to have children victimized in this way. It's not in the interest of the black community, the Latino community, or the white community. If you tolerate with black children, eventually it will happen to your children. And you have to think about it. Would I want that to happen to my child? Is that the way my child should be treated in school? That's what we have to do. We have to raise that awareness because if it's seen as a black issue or Latino issue, we're going to lose, because whites won't perceive it as being something that they should be concerned about, when in fact we have to see it as a issue of children's rights, human rights, and we should be protecting the civil liberties of our children.